My fiancée and her childhood sweetheart went out drinking all night, and she said they were just good friends. But the photos on my phone ruthlessly exposed her lie. After the breakup, she thought I would bow my head again and beg her to change her mind like a dog like I did in the past, until other women appeared around me, and she cried and begged me to come back. At 3:17 in the morning, I stared at the wall clock, and every second-hand movement seemed to be beating my heart. At the entrance, Jessica's high heels were tilted, and the heels were still stained with wine stains, emitting a pungent smell. This was the seventh time this month that she and her childhood sweetheart named Ryan had been drinking all night and had not returned home. I sat on the sofa. The hangover soup in front of me had already cooled down. The condensed fat floated on the surface, just like my condensed mood at the moment. The phone screen suddenly lit up. It was a message from Ryan with a photo attached. The moment I clicked it, my blood seemed to freeze. On the messy big bed, Jessica curled up in Ryan's arms, her hair scattered on Ryan's chest. The posture was extremely ambiguous. Then, another message popped up. As long as I want, she is mine, but it was quickly withdrawn. Fortunately, I was quick to take a screenshot and save it. Jessica pushed the door open. She was still drunk and looked impatient. How many times have I explained this to you? Ryan is my good buddy. We grew up together, and now he is my investor. What's wrong with having a drink together? Can you stop being suspicious all the time? If he and I could be together, we would have been together 800 years ago. You wouldn't have any business with us. I said nothing and threw the phone in front of her. She picked up the phone, and her face turned pale. Photos don't lie. The facts are in front of us. She did check into a hotel room with Ryan last night. You guys are good buddies? Can you drink enough to sleep in the same bed in a hotel? I tried to suppress the heartache, but my voice trembled uncontrollably. Jessica finally put away her impatience, sat next to me, took my hand, and said softly, I was drunk and Ryan didn't know my address, so he sent me to the hotel. He was worried that something might happen to me, so he took care of me all night. Nothing really happened between us. You can see in the photo, I'm wearing my clothes properly. You were drunk and didn't let me pick you up, but went to the hotel with another man. Is that appropriate? I interrupted her flawed explanation. Jessica's face turned cold again in an instant. In the end, you just doubt me. Since you suspect that I'm unfaithful to you, then I don't think there's any need for this marriage. As soon as the words came out of her mouth, she seemed to realize that she had said the wrong thing, and a trace of helplessness flashed across her face. Okay. I looked at her calmly. Let's not get married. She was stunned, as if she couldn't believe what she heard. What did you say? Let's break up. I repeated it seriously. Jessica suddenly sneered. Are you serious? Don't you regret it? In her eyes, I will probably always be the one who will forgive her unconditionally and beg for peace. After all, we have argued countless times and said we would break up countless times. And in the end, I was the first to give in. But this time it was different. I got up and walked into the bedroom, pushing out the suitcase that I had packed last night. Jessica's face suddenly turned ugly. I walked up to her, looked at her haggard face due to the hangover, and sighed. You have a bad stomach, drink less alcohol in the future. I have packed the hangover soup and put it in the kitchen cabinet. Remember to drink it. I have also prepared enough of the several nutritional supplements you often take. If you want to break up, why are you still pretending to be so hypocritical? Jessica interrupted me, rushed to the entrance, and slammed the door open. Get out. Get out. I took a deep breath, pulled my suitcase, and walked out of the house. Jessica, goodbye. The door behind me slammed shut with a bang, and the voice-controlled lights in the corridor lit up. At the gate of the community, I really met Ryan. He was sitting in the conspicuous Maybach. When he saw me pulling the luggage, he immediately got out of the car and blocked my way. His peach blossom eyes were full of teasing. Hey, isn't this William? Finally kicked out by Jessica. I glanced at him coldly, not wanting to pay attention, but he kept insisting, it would have been great if you had known this earlier. A man like you who lives on Jessica is not worthy of her at all. I stopped and sneered. I'm not worthy of her. You and her are quite a good match. I wish you two a sweet and happy marriage. I pushed him away, hailed a taxi, lowered my head and got into the car, my eyes unconsciously glancing at the rearview mirror. Through the glass, I saw Ryan pouted in the direction I left and then walked quickly into the community. Watching him disappear at the gate, I curled up a self-deprecating smile. What a loving childhood sweetheart. He can now finally play the role of the caring older brother, waiting for me and Jessica to quarrel, then appear in front of me to comfort me and tell me that he has always been there. Now, they're more in tune with each other. Everyone says that I am immature and ungenerous, but Jessica has never shown such impatience to me. I am afraid she also thinks that I am really an immature person. Once upon a time, she was the irreplaceable person in my heart. We met in the drama club in college. I played the big tree she relied on, and she was the dazzling princess on the stage. That time, she accidentally fell off the high platform, and I happened to catch her below. Although I broke my arm, it became the opportunity for us to meet. During that time, I was so ordinary that I was not worth mentioning. Jessica was a rich lady in everyone's eyes, but I always felt that she always had a loneliness that others could not understand. Our relationship also quietly heated up at that time. She always came to visit me, with coquettishness and mischief, and my world was full of her smiles and sweet words. However, all that changed during our senior year. Jessica's father suddenly brought back an illegitimate child, which was an unprecedented blow to her, who had always lived a smooth life. For the first time, she realized that because she was a daughter, she could not get all the attention from her father, and even the right to inherit the Liu family business was deprived. Her father took the illegitimate child to various banquets, while she was forced to stand among the women and act as a vase. That night, she came to see me in a haute couture dress, her eyes full of tears and helplessness. She hugged me tightly, as if she was looking for the last straw to rely on. At that moment, her tears wet my clothes, but also left a deep mark in my heart. She swore that she would not let that illegitimate child take away everything from her. Since then, Jessica started her entrepreneurial journey. This road was not smooth. She originally studied music, and although she once played the cello in the Golden Hall of Vienna, her background could not help her succeed in business. Lu Fu reprimanded her for being naughty and arranged a blind date for her with a suitable family background, intending to marry her off. But Jessica was unwilling to do so. She threatened to die and finally won the last chance to start a business. This business was not only to prove myself, but also to fight for freedom from my father's oppression and for our relationship. And I devoted myself to her business without regrets, even though I knew that our future might be full of challenges. However, feelings are so complicated. Even if we once had a common goal and worked hard for each other's future, we never expected that the final outcome would be so devastating. Ryan's return to China seemed to cast a shadow over our relationship. At first, I was full of jealousy, anger, and incomprehension towards him. However, as I argued with Jessica again and again, I began to see her indifferent attitude, constantly complaining that I was making a fuss. I suddenly realized that it was not so much Ryan's appearance that made me uneasy, but her attitude that gradually made me lose all my trust. She was no longer the little girl who had done her best for me, but had become the cold, resolute woman. Her attitude was no longer what I remembered, and the appearance of Fu Heng had uncovered the last fig leaf in our relationship. Sitting in the taxi, I looked at the street scenes flashing by quickly, and I suddenly felt relieved. I used to fantasize about being with her forever, but reality told me that the 7-year itch is indeed the inevitable ending of every relationship. Perhaps all the efforts have finally become a burden. I remember when I first joined Yinchuan Technology, I thought my colleagues in the department would give me some show of strength. After all, I was parachuted in from Roashue Technology, and there would always be people who wanted to test my bottom line. Unexpectedly, they actually welcomed me sincerely. I was a little stunned when I heard the department director Alex say, "Emma, the R&D director is finally in place, and I can take a break." The expression on Alex's face did not seem fake, and he really looked relieved. Other colleagues also began to joke, Alex is always trembling in front of the boss, but William is awesome. He doesn't change his face even when the sky is falling. It depends on you in the future, William. William was recruited by the boss with a lot of money. He was a technical expert in Ruoshui technology before. We at Yinchuan Technology will definitely let William realize his ambitions. I couldn't help but feel flattered when I heard these words. Yinchuan Technology and Ruoshui Technology are in the same track, but our development backgrounds and concepts are very different. Ruoshui Technology had a difficult start, while Yinchuan Technology has strong capital behind it and has risen rapidly with strong momentum. I used to be the co-founder and CTO of Ruoshui Technology. Although the position looks glamorous, in fact, most of the shares are in Jessica's hands, and she is the real boss of the company. In the early days of the business, we had many differences in the company's business philosophy. I tend to focus on polishing the product and take steady steps. But she always wants to make a profit as soon as possible, and under the pressure of Jessica's father, she is eager to get investment and funds. Every time a market opportunity comes, she will urge the company to get involved as soon as possible. We often argue about this, but what really caused the conflict to erupt was a project establishment meeting 2 years ago. Jessica wanted the company to transform and enter this industry immediately. However, Ruoshui Technology originally focused on smart warehousing and logistics, and a hasty transformation would inevitably destroy our past accumulation. As the head of the technical department, I immediately expressed my opposition. But the problem was that Doris and the HR and finance department stood by Jessica and supported her decision. So the project initiation meeting came to an abrupt end. Jessica began to secretly exert pressure within the company, even using HR and finance to suppress the department I led. She put a huge amount of pressure on my team, and the already tense atmosphere suddenly became even more depressing. After that meeting, our arguments became more and more intense. Once, she even slammed the table and yelled at me in front of everyone in the office, without any regard for my dignity. She said, "William, don't think you can challenge me just because you are in charge of technology. I'm the one who pays the money. As a CEO, I have to spend money and can always hire a better CTO to replace you. You only gave you this position because of me. If you were not my boyfriend, you would not be worthy of being a CTO." Jessica's words made me realize that the good things and trust we had had in the past had long been replaced by mutual interests. Her attitude became increasingly cold, and she never considered our feelings at all. She just treated the company as a game. And I, in this game, gradually became unimportant and became a marginal figure who was sidelined. In order to teach me a lesson, Jessica followed Doris's advice and used human resources and finance to put pressure on my department. Sometimes she asked human resources to conduct employee training or asked our department to submit a budget report and demand cost reduction and efficiency improvement. During those days, my department gradually became panic-stricken and many people began to leave. To make matters worse, gradually, more and more new employees sided with Jessica. There were always whispers in the office talking about my powerlessness as a CTO and even treating me as an outsider, someone who didn't understand the rules of the game. Every time I heard these words, I felt a sense of loss. I once hoped to do something for the company and the team, but now, even my opinions are not accepted. This feeling of being sidelined made me start to doubt myself. Am I really unworthy of my position? During this period, I gradually began to feel discouraged. As time went by, my power was increasingly hollowed out, and I became a company decoration and a marginal figure. No one opposed Jessica's decision anymore, and the company's funds were invested in the research and development of smart home products. The subsequent problem of insufficient funds was also solved by Ryan. He became the largest investor in Ruoshui Technology, as if a god had descended from the sky to solve Jessica's urgent needs. Since then, Jessica became more and more impatient with me. Her attitude disappointed me deeply. At this time, headhunters began to contact me frequently, mainly to recruit me for Yinchuan Technology. At that time, although I was a little shaken, I had not given up on Jessica, so I kept rejecting their invitations. However, after several years of struggle, Yinchuan Technologies headhunters continued to extend olive branches to me, and new opportunities were presented to me almost every month. It was not until the day I broke up with Jessica that I finally made a decision and accepted the offer from Yinchuan Technology. Looking back now, this was undoubtedly the best decision I have ever made. I have just embarked on this new path in life, and I can't help but feel a little emotional. That day, I attended the department welcome party of Yinchuan Technology. The atmosphere was more lively than I expected. Everyone took turns to toast me. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore and quickly admitted defeat and begged for mercy. Taking the opportunity, I found a gap to go to the bathroom to sober up, but as a result, as soon as I walked out of the bathroom, I bumped into someone. I'm sorry. I apologized subconsciously and was about to leave, but was stopped by the other party. William. I turned around and saw that it was Doris. She pulled my clothes, and when she saw me turn my head, she quickly let go. I was confused and a little unhappy. Maybe my hostility was too obvious. Her face turned red and she stammered. William, long time no see. You come here to eat too? Did you see Jessica? I don't understand. Doris always hates me. Why would she take the initiative to talk to me today? I nodded casually and prepared to leave, but Doris suddenly blocked my way. You can see that Jessica already has Ryan. I couldn't help but interrupt her. As you wish, I have broken up with her. It's her freedom to be with whomever she wants in the future. There's no need to reiterate to me about Jessica and Ryan. I wanted to leave, but Doris didn't give in. She still stood in front of me. Her eyes suddenly lit up. You have broken up? Then, William, can I be with you? I was stunned for a moment, thinking, was it because I drank too much that I heard this? Doris, who usually looked down on me and hated me, actually confessed to me? Seeing that I didn't respond, she approached me again, getting closer and closer to me. I could even smell the alcohol on her body. I took a step back and walked around her. You were drunk. I pretended not to hear what you just said. However, Doris didn't let me go and quickly caught up with me. William, I'm not drunk. I really like you, she said, with a hint of sincerity in her eyes. Are you still thinking about Jessica? Let me tell you, she and Ryan have been in a relationship for a long time. Miss Lou and Ryan are childhood sweethearts, and they are well matched. You were just her ignorant playmate when she was young. Do you really think you can marry her? Give up. William, this society is very realistic, and ordinary people should be with ordinary people. I stopped walking. Doris' words were so funny. Her logic was very simple. She thought that since I came from an ordinary family, I should be with her, who also came from an ordinary family. Just as I was about to refute her, suddenly, a warm hand rested on my arm, and a faint fragrance came to my face. Madam, what you said about being well matched does make sense. Indeed, you are an ordinary person. I turned around and saw a short-haired young woman standing next to me. She was wearing a high-end custom-made business suit and had a strong aura. She smiled and continued. Unfortunately, William is not an ordinary person. I was stunned. Her words made Doris' face pale a little, and she opened her eyes wide, as if she had not expected such a situation. I'm sorry you're late. She blinked, then turned her gaze to Doris and asked calmly, So, ma'am, what do you want to do with my fiancé? Fiancé? Doris' face turned pale and bloodless. At that moment, I saw the shock on her face, as if a loud slap hit her face, making her lose all her confidence in an instant. I couldn't help but smile. I couldn't get rid of this even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Doris would definitely tell Jessica about this, and I wouldn't have to explain anything to her anymore. Olivia let go of my hand and winked at me. That's right, you are my fiancé now. Olivia said this very easily, as if the relationship between us had been taken for granted. The beginning of this relationship was really a coincidence. When I went to Yinchuan Technology for an interview, I found out that the boss of the company was actually my old high school classmate, Olivia. Our interview turned into a chat about the past. I was the first in science in the whole school, and Olivia was the second. She often said that she wanted to beat me and become the first, but she failed to achieve it in the college entrance examination. 10 years later, we met again. I left Jessica with nothing, but she had already become a successful young entrepreneur and was rated by the business media as a representative of the power of women in the new era, young and promising. This encounter made me feel a little ashamed. Under Jessica's suppression, I had great doubts about my ability, but Olivia's arrival changed everything. When I met her, I even suspected that she gave me the job because of our old classmate. However, she told me in a firm tone, "William, I am a businessman. I will not let an untalented person sit in such an important position." The reason why Ruoshui Technologies products have not achieved better results is entirely because you do not attach importance to the maintenance of after-sales projects. This is a problem of follow-up management, not a problem of R&D. I believe in your ability, and you can maximize your performance in my company. Olivia's words touched my heart. She saw my value, and I felt unprecedented affirmation from her. I was moved by this long-lost recognition. I haven't been affirmed like this for a long time. Just as we were chatting happily, Olivia's father, the strong capital behind her, suddenly broke into the office, yelling at her to go on a blind date, and pulled me aside. Olivia was annoyed, grabbed me, winked at me, and whispered to her father, "She is my boyfriend." Olivia's boyfriend inexplicably, and soon I became her fiancé. Although the origin of this relationship was a bit hasty, it also made me feel a long-lost sense of security in my heart. After 3 rounds of drinks, the atmosphere was warm. Under Olivia's leadership, the entire atmosphere of Yinchuan Technology was full of enthusiasm and unity. Under her leadership, everyone in the team agreed with her philosophy, and the work was intense but not depressing. Everyone supported each other and worked together, and Yinchuan Technology rose rapidly and formed a closely united whole. Compared with the atmosphere of Yinchuan Technology, the situation of Ruoshui Technology is completely different. In the past 2 years, the internal departments have been almost in disarray. Jessica has led the company more and more anxiously. Her pressure has made the company lose its former flexibility and innovation, and the morale of the team is also much worse than before. Whenever I think of this, an inexplicable emotion always surges in my heart. Ruoshui's decline is actually inextricably linked to me. During a dinner party, a group of us walked out of the restaurant and ran into Jessica and Ryan. What was even more unfortunate was that we ran into Ryan and Jessica's confession. Ryan knelt on one knee, holding a bunch of bright red roses, and looked at Jessica affectionately. "Jessica, I came back to China just for you. In the past 2 years, I saw that you have been fighting alone and established your foothold in the business world. It is not easy. I hope I can give you support and be my girlfriend." "Promise him, promise him." Jessica's friends cheered, obviously cheering for this confession, but Jessica had a habitual cold reaction. She was not excited and even raised her eyebrows, looking a little surprised, but not showing a trace of joy. She glanced around, and finally her eyes met mine. For a moment, a hint of incredible surprise flashed across her face, but soon it turned cold and arrogant. She seemed to be waiting for me to take the initiative to walk over, but I didn't move. I just withdrew my gaze lightly and turned to pass by them. She was obviously dissatisfied with my attitude, turned around and shook Ryan off, followed closely, and approached me. Her voice suddenly became low and urgent. "William, where have you been these days? You didn't call me for so long, do you know? I have to deal with company matters while worrying about your safety. I am really tired." I stopped walking, and suddenly I felt cold in my heart. Jessica seemed to think that I broke up and moved out because I was angry with her. She was obviously too confident and thought that I would never really leave her. She continued, "Forget it. You have been making a fuss for so long. You should have calmed down, right? Move back home. I will make time next month, and we will find a date to arrange a meeting between our parents to discuss marriage." Ryan behind her and found that he looked unhappy and frowned. There was a hint of unhappiness in his eyes. Jessica's friends were also very surprised, and the atmosphere became more tense. Doris was hiding on the side, with a complicated expression, and seemed to be unwell. "We've broken up," I said bluntly, without any hesitation in my tone. Jessica was stunned for a moment when she heard these words, and then she pressed her temples irritably, as if she was enduring something. Stop making trouble. I know you don't want to do this. I've worked so hard to start a business. Isn't it for our future? If it wasn't for us, how could I endure so much pressure? I interrupted her. Ryan is pretty good. He's a good match for you. Being with him won't make you so tired. Jessica's face began to turn pale. She obviously didn't expect me to be so direct. When I looked at her expression, her anger seemed to begin to brew, and her eyes became sharp. William, I'll give you one more chance to take back what you just said, otherwise. Ryan behind her and gritted her teeth. Otherwise, I will really be with Ryan. I didn't respond to her, but just said coldly, I wish you a happy marriage. Then I gave her a faint blessing. Jessica's face turned pale immediately, but she still looked at Ryan stubbornly. I promise to be your girlfriend. She finally made a decision, and Ryan smiled proudly, but I could see that her smile was not sincere and even carried a hint of uneasiness and expectation. Thank you, William. Ryan turned to look at me and forced a smile. Jessica, I will take good care of her. I hope you can find your own happiness. Jessica deliberately leaned on Ryan and looked at me provocatively. Ryan is much better than you. Let's break up. Without you, I will only get better and better, but if you leave me, you'll be nothing. Her words stung me, but I still didn't react. At this moment, Olivia suddenly appeared beside me coldly. Her voice as piercing as the cold wind. You are not worthy of William's deep affection for so many years. Jessica was stunned for a moment and suddenly seemed a little uneasy. Who are you? Her voice was low and obviously unhappy. Olivia smiled gently and said calmly, I am William's fiancé. Hearing this, Jessica's face immediately turned pale. She clenched her teeth, obviously a little annoyed. You said you're my fiancé? So you already found someone else? Her tone was full of sarcasm. Olivia didn't give her any chance and interrupted her directly. You are the one who flirts with other men even though you have a boyfriend. You are the one who relied on William's research and development to gain a foothold in the market for so many years, but you kicked him away. You are the one who was tired of William first. Jessica's expression turned extremely ugly. Olivia glanced at her coldly. Then she took out her cell phone, opened a video, and threw it to her. Look at yourself. How can you be fooled by your best friend, idiot? The voice from the phone shocked me. It was the words Doris said when she blocked me in the restaurant and confessed her love. Doris suddenly became petrified, and Jessica was also stunned when she heard the voice in the video. After the video was played, Jessica's expression changed from disbelief to anger, and finally she stared at Doris. What do you mean? She asked her coldly. The anger in her eyes almost swallowed up all her rationality. Doris saw her glaring at her. A trace of confusion flashed in her eyes, and then she let go of all her worries and welcomed Jessica's anger. Yes, I like William. What's wrong? There was a hint of sneer in her tone, as if all the constraints were untied at this moment. Jessica rushed over almost instantly and raised her hand to hit Doris. But Doris didn't try to dodge. Instead, she sneered. You two broke up. Why can't I confess my love to you? Doris' voice was full of provocation. Jessica's face turned pale instantly. Obviously, she didn't expect that she would fight back so bluntly. But you've been trying to sow discord between me and him. Jessica's voice was trembling, but she still fought back stubbornly. You said that William has too much power in the company and we should suppress him. You said that the people in the R&D department only recognize him and not me. You said that William is a Phoenix man and is with me just across the class barrier. Doris sneered, her tone unyielding. Yes, I said it, but did I force you to do these things? Jessica, if you really loved William wholeheartedly, how could I instigate you? To put it bluntly, you also feel that he is not worthy of you, don't you? Jessica was speechless after hearing Doris's direct words. She was so angry that she almost wanted to rush up and slap her again. Ryan saw this and quickly stopped her. Jessica, calm down. Jessica was about to collapse. How can I calm down? I was so sincere to her, but she tried to steal my girl. Her eyes were full of anger, but Doris was not afraid at all. Instead, She sneered. I'm telling you, Jessica, from now on, you are fired. I was already impatient watching this tangle drama, so I turned around and pulled Olivia away. My colleagues in the department had already left tactfully, leaving only Olivia and I walking one after the other. In the silence, I suddenly asked Olivia, how do you know about my suppression and marginalization in Roashue, as well as the various disputes between me, Jessica, and Ryan? Olivia didn't answer for a moment, seeming a little embarrassed. After a while, she slowly opened her mouth. I've guessed it. She was a little shy, and her ears gradually turned red under my gaze. I smiled and walked up to catch up with her. It's rare for my fiancé to be so cautious in protecting me. If I still pretend that I don't know, wouldn't that be too much? Olivia pushed me away angrily after hearing what I said and walked forward. I stood there and couldn't help but smile when I saw her back. At this moment, Olivia stood up for me and recounted the grievances I had suffered over the years. I knew that she had seen through everything. Wait for me. I quickly caught up with her and grabbed her sleeve tightly. You know everything, it's really too much. I sent Olivia home. I was about to return to my current rental place when I found Jessica and Ryan waiting downstairs. Jessica's eyes were full of tears, and she was obviously experiencing a violent emotional fluctuation, while Ryan was smoking irritably and seemed upset. Ryan looked up at me when he saw me approaching. He lowered his head this time, his eyes full of bloodshot. Jessica insisted on coming to you. I admit defeat. I admit defeat this time. I wanted to laugh when he said that. I turned around and grabbed Ryan, who was about to leave, and took him away with gritted teeth. Take her away quickly, and don't let me see you again. I felt annoyed. Jessica looked at us, tears welling up in her eyes. William, it's all my fault. I was misled by Doris. She was the one who instigated us. Let's not break up, okay? I apologize to you, and I will definitely make it up to you in the future. Her voice was filled with deep regret, and her eyes were filled with reluctance. I will give you Ruashue's shares. You will still be the CT and co-founder of the company. Don't be with other women, okay? I took a deep breath, looked at her tearful eyes, and felt very complicated. Jessica, don't push the problems between us onto others. You have to admit that there have been problems in our relationship for a long time. If you really care about me, how could you be easily instigated by Doris? Jessica bit her lip, tears still flowing, but she didn't speak. Her eyes seemed full of helplessness and confusion. What I saw was no longer the woman who had fought hard for everything for me, but a person who had already lost her way. I lowered my head, speaking calmly and decisively. For the past 2 years, I have been sidelined. I have thought about this issue countless times, but in the end, I had to accept a reality. Jessica is no longer the person who loved me so much. Jessica's face turned pale, and the tears in her eyes could no longer be controlled. She seemed unwilling to accept this fact, biting her lower lip tightly, but could not say anything. We've experienced the 7-year itch, I continued. The passionate feelings we once had when we were young gradually faded after experiencing the hardships of reality. What separated us was not only problems, but also differences in ideas, pressure from our parents, and the disapproval of people around us. I looked into her eyes and said firmly, perhaps in the past 2 years, my feelings for you have long faded, which is why I let it go so quickly. Jessica still didn't want to accept this reality, and her tears seemed to be her only resistance. William, don't give up on me. Her voice was filled with deep despair. I know I was wrong. I know I hurt you, but please don't give up on me. I shook my head without a trace of emotion in my eyes. You are just not used to the changes in this relationship. Let's part ways in peace. She bit her lip, still refusing to let go, looking at me with tearful eyes. I knew that this relationship had really come to an end. Jessica refused to accept this reality. That night, I told Ryan everything. However, Jessica still seemed to not understand and pestered me again. She seemed to believe that all the problems between her and me were just minor quarrels and would eventually return to her arms. She was even sure that Olivia was a tool I found to anger her and a means for me to make her jealous. Jessica came to my place almost every day, almost like squatting. William, I know you want me to pay attention to you. I know now, she said with a sob. How sad were you when I got close to Ryan? It was my fault. Now I have tasted this, really, I deserve it. But don't give up on me, okay? Every word she said annoyed me. How could I pursue Olivia openly if she kept pestering me like this? Now, I have someone I like, and I want to start a new life of my own. Jessica, I've said it before, let's part ways amicably. I took a deep breath and looked at her painful expression. If you keep pestering me like this, I can start Ruashue with you, but I can also destroy it. As a co-founder, I know this company better than anyone else. If you keep pestering me, I will really consider cooperating with Ruashue's competitors. Jessica heard the hidden meaning in my words, and her face immediately became tangled and uneasy. Deep in her heart, she still couldn't let go of the lifeblood of the company. Jessica was once obsessed with the company. However, after these words, she obviously realized that there was nothing that could be saved between her and me. During this time, I no longer cared about any of Jessica's emotional changes, and my feelings for her had long since faded. My heart had completely belonged to Olivia, and Jessica's persistence and entanglement made her increasingly out of touch with reality. However, Jessica was still unwilling to let go easily. Perhaps there was still some unresolved knot in her eyes, or her pride did not allow her to accept all this. In the end, she chose to let go of everything and decided to enter the marriage hall with Ryan. Just before they were about to get their marriage certificate, Jessica sent a long text message, which was filled with her thoughts during this period. William, I've been thinking about the past recently. If I were not so stubborn, not so eager for success, and agreed with your ideas, maybe Ruashue would go further, and we could be together forever as we swore back then. Looking at this message, I felt no emotion. I did not reply to her, but blocked her number and deleted her contact information. Her determination had already disappeared from my heart. In the end, Olivia became my fiancée, and I was able to fully utilize my abilities at Yinchuan Technology. Together, we developed and expanded the company, and it has gradually become a leader in the industry. Ruashue Technology had already gone bankrupt and reorganized, and was eventually merged into Ryan company. Jessica didn't fulfill the vows she made. She didn't make Ruashue Technology grow and develop, nor did she fight for face in front of Jessica's father. She changed from a vigorous and glorious female CEO to the person she hated the most. She became Ryan's full-time wife, and Ryan seemed to have the same 7-year itch. The former childhood sweetheart is now surrounded by many women. Olivia, who is now my wife, and I attended a business forum with her as the theme. She will be a special guest, sharing her entrepreneurial story and encouraging working women to work hard. At the dinner that day, I met Ryan. He still held a glass of wine, wandering between fame and fortune, busy expanding his network and talking about business, looking very high-spirited. And his wife, Jessica, was among a group of wives, with a false smile on her face, whispering to them about family matters. Her eyes still had the pride they once had, but all this no longer belonged to her. Her world seemed to be completely disconnected from mine. It is said that Jessica's father later made a will, leaving Jessica less than 10% of the shares and leaving the rest to the illegitimate son. Jessica was extremely dissatisfied with this and made a scene, causing Jessica's father to suffer a stroke and become paralyzed. He is still lying in the hospital. The illegitimate son took the opportunity to take over and took away the less than 10% of the shares from Jessica. Jessica completely lost all her support and became Ryan's canary. Ryan and Jessica's marriage is no longer the same. The feelings between them have completely faded. When they meet face to face, Ryan occasionally shows a trace of fatigue, and Jessica becomes more and more silent. Ryan, once a childhood sweetheart, is now just a hypocritical character in her life. Olivia leaned against me and whispered, "Look at her. She has been busy fighting the mistresses these years, and her life is a mess. She was once most afraid that you would take the company away, but in the end she was left with nothing and became Ryan's canary. Look at her now, standing in the glory of the past, She has become the person she least wants to be. I smiled faintly, without moving my eyes away from Ryan and Jessica. Although they were in the spotlight, I knew that all the glory and honor no longer belonged to them. Those people are just passers-by, I said softly, and I was relieved in my heart. The past is the past. Now I just want to live for myself once.